Hi, I'm Sam.
Hi, I'm Aisha.
We're talking about our mail art project for our art history class today.
So I guess I'll start off. The first mail art that I sent was a napkin, and it says tree on tree, and I actually drew out a tree. Sorry. I drew out a tree, and it says get it. And so I kind of wanted to do like a play on words because like paper comes from trees, and so I drew a tree on it. And then I wanted to kind of incorporate all kinds of media, so I used like stenciled letters. I also didn't want you to figure out who I was, so I didn't want you to see my handwriting. And then I used like the cutout from the magazine too, just because I wanted to incorporate different kinds of media.
Yeah, I got the pun right away. I thought it was really funny. But I did not realize that there was more to the image. I didn't open it up for a few days, so I was pleasantly surprised later. And it was kind of nice because I didn't see the cutout letters at first, and she uses them again later in other images, so that kind of tied them together in more of a series. So my first one was this big yellow scroll, and it has words on it and a little bit of decorations, so I'll read it. A good laugh and a long sleep are the two best cures for anything. And then in the corner it says modern proverbs. So my art pieces were like a series of phrases, either funny or serious, and then some image or background that would make it a little bit more memorable. So that was more of a serious one. I wanted to start kind of serious and then transition into something more funny.
Yeah, I like opened it when I got it in the mail, and I was like, sheesh, and I like hung it up on my desk, like so that when I'm doing homework, I read it and stuff. It was really nice. It was cool. I don't know why I got the vibe that you were a girl after that one. I don't know, but like, I don't know. Okay. And so my second one is this, and it's a picture of a French horn, and then I cut out the letters "Mom made me," and so it was kind of just like me remembering that my mom made me join band in like middle school, and so like as soon as I saw the horn, I was like, okay, yeah, I already know what I'm gonna use this one for. And so again, I wanted to use the letters so that you didn't know who I was, and so like you said, it would be like a common theme in all of my mail art.
I saw that and I was like, oh my gosh, ransom note. Someone is giving me pieces of their life and I'm going to try and put them together and find out where they're hiding. It was a little freaky for me at first, and I definitely showed all my roommates. I was like, what does this mean? So that one kind of threw me off the track and I got really confused. My second little phrase was a funny one. It has this really big sunshine and it says, watch a sunrise at least once per day. So this was kind of the combination of like a joke, very similar to her verse piece, but also just another piece of kind of funny advice to just brighten someone's day.
Yeah. When I first read it, I was like, wait, there's two sunrises in a day? I was like, this can't be right. But then I thought about it and I was like, oh, it's humorous, but it also explains the truth. Like sometimes you just need to relax a little bit. So yeah, I definitely saw that too. Okay, my third one was a combination. I used the stenciled letters to write out, why are days only 24 hours long? And then I kind of added like a meme, and I put this picture along with it, to kind of explain like the emotion behind the quote. And it was actually my roommate gave me the idea. She said it that day while we were trying to do homework. Like we had a pile of homework and she was like, why are days only 24 hours long? And I was like, that's an awesome mail art thing. And so I just grabbed the stencils and I did it.
Yeah, this one was actually one of my favorites because it made me think, which is very similar to what I was trying to do with my pieces. So I don't know if it was intentional or not, but it was almost a response to something that I said, like, oh, maybe I should, either spend my time more effectively or, start watching sunrises every morning. A little more reflective on my own thoughts and processes in my own day. My third piece was a little more serious and funny put together. It says, respect your parents, they pass school without Google. And that one's pretty self-explanatory. I don't know. People just aren't as respectful anymore, and I just think, just take a step back. Think about having school without an internet browser, dictionaries, encyclopedias, things that we don't necessarily use anymore, or we do, but they're in an online format. So that was just a kind of a shock value moment for me when I read that one.
Yeah, it had been a while. I had seen that quote before, and it had been a while since I saw it. And now that I'm in college, I think about it, and it's crazy. Like how did they do it without Google? And so like, I also like that you like made it like a computer screen kind of, and you wrote Google out.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay, so this one I'm afraid to show because my drawings suck. But it's like flowers and patterns, and it says, "Beginning is easy, continuing is hard." And it was actually a response to hers because, well, I guess you can show it.
Yeah, it was a response to my fourth one, which also says, "Beginning is easy, continuing is hard." And I never finished it because I wanted it to kind of show that continuing is hard. And, you know, this project was hard, and I didn't always want to do the next piece or create the next thing. So I left it unfinished on purpose.
Yeah, and so I guess I misunderstood, but like on the note card, it says, it has the quote again, and on the bottom it says, "Flowers, pattern with a question mark," and on the side it says, "Do this ASAP." And so I thought she was telling me, like, do it, like, make a pattern in flowers, because we hadn't really had a conversation. Because, like, we sent it out kind of, like, sporadically, not really on a set schedule. And so that's why I ended up drawing it, and I feel like, wow, we're having a conversation.
So yeah, originally that sticky note was just something that was in my planner, like, you need to do this. And then I was like, oh, I'll just add it to the piece, make it seem like it's unfinished.
Okay, and so my last one was actually a hand turkey, and it says, "Gobble gobble, happy Thanksgiving," because I waited until right before we were leaving to break so that, like, I could tell my partner that to have a happy Thanksgiving. But actually, my friends came over to my room and we started making hand turkeys, and I was like, oh, this would be a cool thing to put in my mail art, and so I sent it.
I actually didn't find this piece till after I got back from break because I'm not very good at checking my mailbox, but I enjoyed it all the same. And then my last piece was just purely funny, not very much in value, but it says, "Don't be sad, because sad spelled backwards is das, and das no good."
It was so cute. That one was my favorite one. I read it and it made me smile and stuff. So yeah, that was good. So for this second part, we're gonna be talking about the concepts and ideas from each of the units and how we incorporated it into our mail art.
Yeah. So our first unit was the building blocks in the toolbox, and for this unit, we both really strongly focused on putting text and images together, kind of in a mashup format. Aisha's was a little more image heavy and mine was a little more text heavy, but we did mashups for all of our images that we sent to each other.
And then some of my mail art kind of like lacked a little bit of context, like the one that you thought was a ransom note. So, you know, that kind of plays into it because, you know, what the creator does is different from what the viewer sees. Mm-hmm. And so for Unit 2, lenses and framing, we kind of incorporated Dawkins' criteria because we were sending images to be captioned and stuff, like the one I said was like a meme, just to describe the kind of text and image. I don't know
yeah, and all of my phrases came from social media, so I mean, that in itself, they had their own images that went along with the text because they were used either as like laptop backgrounds or notes that you'd send to someone else. So I took those and I changed them into something that I could create, but saved the wordage. So that was definitely how the power of social media influenced what I put on a paper. Okay, for our third unit, visual languages and communication, this is the unit where the entire concept of mail art came from. So the bulk of our project had ties to this unit. One interesting thing that we did that was a little different from other groups is that we didn't really read and respond to each other. We both kind of had preset groups of images that we wanted to create, and then we just sent them whenever we felt like sending them.
Yeah, and so like the fact that we didn't have a conversation had to do with like the consistency in which we sent the mail art. Like I sent the first 3, I think, like 3 days after it was assigned, like back to back to back to back, and then it took forever to respond until she sent me the one where we actually started to have kind of a conversation.
Yeah, I don't think I sent one until like the last week and a half of the window that we had the project. So I had multiple pieces from her already, and then I was like, just like a machine, I would make them and send them once a day until I had sent them all.
Yeah, it was kind of difficult to think about what to send sometimes. Like, you were like, oh man, what do I send? I can't just send nothing. Although nothing would have been cool.
Yeah. Open an empty envelope.
Yeah, now that I think about it.
Make them think about it.
We didn't talk about the envelopes.
Oh yeah, I don't know if this was laziness or genius, but we kept reusing
Yeah, we
the
like
same
recycled
envelope.
envelopes. You can see where we scratched out each other's GMU. Yeah, and then there was like so much tape involved, and yeah,
Yeah, that was kind of a separate project on its own.
just a fun fact. And so for the last unit, unit 4, which is the picture of health, we didn't really involve any of the senses besides, like, I guess, sight, because you have to read and maybe even touch because of the different textures of the paper, like construction paper or chalkboard paper, or like the napkin that I used. But we did want to kind of talk about the environment in which we opened the mail art, because usually I would get it out of my mailbox and I would open it there in front of all the people, and so my attention was kind of divided, and then I didn't really get to appreciate the mail art until I got to my room and I really opened it and tried to understand why she sent it or what it meant.
Yeah, so mine was almost the opposite. I either opened it in my room or at the pool, so I was always in the presence of someone else. And I almost immediately, every time, I was like, what does this mean? I don't understand. So right away, I had feedback from another person when I opened it. And while we didn't talk about the senses, I think something that we both used quite frequently was humor. We used a lot of humor and comic elements in our mail art interactions.
So overall, I think we both really enjoyed the project. It was kind of fun not knowing who the other person was. I think it also made like the mail art more individual to us because we didn't have a conversation. Actually, like she said, we kind of prepared it in advance, and we already knew what we were gonna send.
Yeah, so we just kind of learned a little bit about each other without knowing at all who we were learning about. But overall, when we had the big reveal, I was really surprised, and I had a lot of fun over these past few weeks.